Lord Xiao declares that Tu Ye should kill her immediately, revealing that she has already taken care of the messenger he sent to execute Prince Tu Su. She then warns that sooner or later, Tu Su will deal with Tu Ye himself, leaving Tu Ye puzzled as he questions when he ever ordered Tu Su's execution. Lord Xiao refuses to let him play games in front of her, pointing out that Tu Su is the prince personally appointed by Tu Qianjun, so there is no way Tu Ye can sit securely on the throne without killing him. Meanwhile, Zhao Shu knows the matter has nothing to do with Tu Ye because her foster father handled everything behind his back. Looking at Zhao Shu's expression, Tu Ye suspects she knows something and quickly guesses that the old man Zhao Zhuo has been playing tricks again by forging the decree behind his back. However, he soon considers that this might actually be a blessing in disguise. If he accepts the blame, he can use it to stir up even more hatred against Tu Su. The moment Lord Xiao notices the change in Tu Ye's expression, she becomes alarmed. Tu Ye lets out a menacing laugh and declares that he remembers now, confirming that it really was his decree. Zhao Shu is immediately puzzled by his response, but Tu Ye simply reaches for the sword hanging on the wall. After all, Tu Su controls those powerful troops, even though they should have been left to him by his father. Zhao Shu cannot understand why Tu Ye is willingly shouldering the blame, while Tu Ye decides that simply executing Tu Su with a decree would be far too dull. Instead, he wants to have some fun with Tu Su in a more interesting way. Seeing Tu Ye prepare to swing his sword, Lord Xiao turns pale. Without hesitation, he slashes at her, and she closes her eyes in acceptance, only to slowly open them again when she realizes she is completely unharmed. Instead, the chains binding her have been cut apart. Lord Xiao questions whether Tu Ye has decided not to kill her, and he explains that since she already killed his messenger, she can take his place and deliver a new decree to Tu Su. Tu Ye recalls that Tu Qianjun once described Tu Su as a born warrior and, in order to train him for the throne, appointed him as the prince of the northern province and commander of the northern army. However, from what Tu Ye has seen, Tu Su is nothing more than a brute with some raw strength, so there is nothing worth fearing. On that day, he intends to strip Tu Su not only of his titles and positions, but also of his Tu surname, reducing him completely to a commoner. Lord Xiao is stunned by the decree, but Tu Ye continues, instructing her to inform Tu Su that if he disagrees with the decision, he is free to rebel and reclaim whatever he believes rightfully belongs to him. Tu Ye will be waiting for him in the capital. At the same time, he reflects that playing the foolish, arrogant tyrant who is jealous of his own brother and recklessly provokes him is becoming almost too realistic. Right then, the system notifies Tu Ye that his actions have triggered the second-level national calamity event, Jingnan Rebellion. Hearing this, Tu Ye wonders how a second-level calamity differs from an ordinary national calamity event. The system explains that in the original history of Tu Ye's world, Ming Emperor Jianwen Zhu Yunwen ordered the removal of the northern prince Yan Wang Zhu Di, which sparked his rebellion. The Yan army eventually attacked the Ming capital, Jinling, while Jianwen Zhu Yunwen's fate remained unknown, creating the historical event known as the Jingnan Rebellion. Because the conditions require the capital to have a powerful prince with troops, while Tu Ye, as emperor, issues an order stripping that prince of his power, the event has now been activated. If the prince rebels because of the decree, the first phase is completed, deducting 1,000 national power points from Tu Ye. If the prince's army eventually breaches the capital, the second phase is completed as well, deducting another 10,000 national power points. Tu Ye immediately understands just how severe a second-level national calamity event is, because if both phases are completed, his national power points will definitely fall into the negative. As he bursts into manic laughter, Lord Xiao can only regard the foolish tyrant as someone who seems slightly out of his mind. Even so, she considers that this outcome may be for the best, because at the very least, Tu Su still has a chance to reclaim the throne. While Tu Ye waves goodbye to Lord Xiao, Zhao Shu considers how Tu Ye not only lets the assassin go, but deliberately takes the blame for Zhao Zhuo, leaving her to wonder what purpose there could be in sending Lord Xiao to provoke Tu Su. Suddenly, Tu Ye realizes something and is left speechless. He figures he cannot rely entirely on these sudden events because, knowing the system's nature, it might somehow turn negative points into positive ones. If he wants to complete the nation-destroying task, he still needs to make use of the other cunning ministers around him. At that moment, Tu Ye suddenly looks at Zhao Shu, leaving her surprised and puzzled. He recalls that Zhao Shu has Zhao Zhuo behind her, and if Zhao Zhuo would stop constantly urging him to attend court, that could actually be useful. Meanwhile, Zhao Shu remains completely confused until Tu Ye calls out to her. He admits that lately, he has been paying more attention to Fan Taozhu and Zhu Geisha while neglecting Zhao Shu, so he offers an apology. Hearing this terrifies her, but Tu Ye reassures her and reminds her that he previously allowed her to freely inform Zhao Zhuo about his situation. This time, he wants her to relay a message. She is to inform Zhao Zhuo that he will be attending court and presiding over matters, so he should be prepared. Zhao Shu agrees. By morning, the court is already assembled when an attendant announces the arrival of Prime Minister Zhao Zhuo. Zhao Zhuo steps into the court, and one minister greets him as he passes. As the others follow, Zhao Zhuo repeatedly responds that everything is fine and there is no need to stand on ceremony. He then looks over the line of ministers bowing respectfully before noticing something strange. Zhao Zhuo wonders why Li Tianyuan has not arrived yet. An attendant reports that Li Tianyuan mentioned earlier that he was not feeling well. Zhao Zhuo inwardly scoffs, figuring that Li Tianyuan still underestimates his plans. He dismisses the matter, declaring that Li Tianyuan's health is important and that his absence that day does not matter. After dealing with Tu Ye and establishing his authority in the court, Zhao Zhuo plans to settle the score with Li Tianyuan later. Suddenly, an attendant announces that the emperor has arrived, repeating the announcement once more. Zhao Zhuo raises an eyebrow when Tu Ye appears. Tu Ye confidently walks past Zhao Zhuo and enters the court with a serious look, while Zhao Shu accompanies him. One minister quietly wonders since when an emperor attends court with his concubines, while another questions whether that violates protocol. Tu Ye laughs and challenges the ministers over whether they cannot even handle one. His remark leaves them puzzled, and as they raise their heads to look at him, they completely lose their composure at what they see. Tu Ye has brought an entire group of concubines with him, and while laughing maniacally, he demands the minister's opinion of them. One of the ministers loses consciousness on the spot, while the other immediately calls for Tu Qianjun. Meanwhile, the imperial concubines look over the Grand Court Assembly. One wonders if this is really the Grand Court Assembly, another remarks that it looks incredibly boring, while another casually greets one of the ministers. Tu Ye laughs and explains that the imperial concubines wanted to experience the Grand Court Assembly, so he assumed no one would object to letting them attend. Zhao Zhuo can only wonder if Tu Ye has completely lost his mind and why he is suddenly pulling something like this. One of the ministers notices that even the most worthless maiden they previously sent into the palace is standing up there, making the whole situation even more embarrassing since they only sent them in because Li Tianyuan suggested it. Another minister suspects Tu Ye is deliberately bringing the harem into court just to humiliate them. Zhao Zhuo steps forward and points out that bringing the harem into the Grand Court Assembly directly violates protocol, demanding to know Tu Ye's intention. Tu Ye calmly reassures everyone that he has no other intention, then wonders whether bringing the harem into a court meeting is perfectly reasonable for a foolish ruler who simply indulges in luxury. That leaves Zhao Zhuo completely speechless. Tu Ye then considers what Zhao Zhuo could possibly do about it, reasoning that as long as he has no shame, Zhao Zhuo has no way to touch him. He calls for one of the attendants, and once the attendant responds, Tu Ye orders him to find seats for everyone. A few moments later, cushions are lined across the floor. Tu Ye admits that this is his first time arranging something like this, so everyone will simply have to squeeze in wherever they can. One of the concubines complains about having to sit on the ground, while another declares that he would rather sit beside Tu Ye on the dragon throne. At that moment, the system notifies Tu Ye that disrupting the etiquette of the Grand Court Assembly costs him 500 national power points. Tu Ye is immediately satisfied to see that causing chaos at the Grand Court Assembly really works, so he plans to create a few more incidents that violate court etiquette, damage his royal dignity in front of the ministers, and make him lose even more points. Meanwhile, the ministers are still losing their minds over everything Tu Ye is doing. Zhao Zhuo, on the other hand, decides to endure Tu Ye for now, intending to show him later. Tu Ye finally moves the court session forward, announcing that this is his first time holding court and inviting the ministers to report anything they have. The ministers immediately sense that the real drama is about to begin, with Zhao Zhuo preparing to make his move against Tu Ye. Zhao Zhuo steps forward and announces that he, Tu Ye's servant, has something to report. He explains that auspicious signs were recently discovered on the Far East Island and have now been presented to him. Tu Ye becomes intrigued and wonders what those auspicious signs are. Zhao Zhuo lets out a menacing laugh before revealing that it is none other than the divine beast, Blue Dragon. He declares that the appearance of the Blue Dragon symbolizes the rise of their great Qian dynasty, which is why he wishes to present this auspicious sign to Tu Ye today. However, the moment Tu Ye hears about the rise of the great Qian dynasty, he appears completely uninterested. Zhao Zhuo notices that Tu Ye does not seem pleased by the auspicious sign and begins wondering whether Tu Ye has already seen through his plan. Even so, he continues and requests that Tu Ye personally take a look at the divine beast. With that, Zhao Zhuo presents the divine beast. A massive monster foot slams onto the floor, instantly alarming the ministers while the others are too shocked to react. Tu Ye, however, is only puzzled. A huge lizard then walks into the court with a sharp hiss, leaving Tu Ye speechless as it is presented before him. He quickly loses his composure and curses internally because the creature is apparently supposed to be a blue dragon. In his world, however, it is clearly a Komodo dragon, making him wonder what kind of place the Far East Island actually is. Zhao Zhuo then urges Tu Ye to look at how majestic the blue dragon is, wondering how Tu Ye will respond now that he has presented the spirit. At that moment, the system notifies Tu Ye that the actions of Zhao Zhuo, a key figure in the destruction of the country, have triggered the sudden national destroying event, inverting the deer. Tu Ye is surprised to learn that a sudden event does not necessarily have to be triggered by him. The system explains that during Emperor Qin Shi's reign, Prime Minister Zhao Gao presented a spotted deer to Emperor Hu Hai in court and called it a horse. The courtiers followed along, and from then on, Emperor Hu Hai's authority gradually fell into Zhao Gao's hands. Because of that, the triggering conditions for inverting the deer require the power behind the throne to present an animal to Tu Ye in court, blatantly identify it as a different animal, and incite the courtiers to pressure Tu Ye into admitting the lie. If everyone present agrees with the power behind the throne's statement, the event is completed, and 2,000 national power points will be deducted from Tu Ye. Tu Ye is impressed that Zhao Zhuo really can keep bringing him surprises, and he wonders if it is finally time for the next performance. The Komodo dragon opens its mouth as saliva drips from its teeth, trying to intimidate Tu Ye while the attendants handling it use all their strength to hold it back. Tu Ye remains speechless while the ministers begin laughing among themselves. He then questions Zhao Zhuo about why such a precious item does not look anything like an auspicious blue dragon. Zhao Zhuo immediately believes Tu Ye has fallen into the trap and prepares to manipulate him. He turns to the ministers and questions whether any of them recognize the divine beast, urging them to confirm whether it is truly a blue dragon. One minister immediately agrees, claiming it is clearly a blue dragon because he once had the fortune of seeing one during his travels on East Sea Island when he was young. Another praises Zhao Zhuo's vast knowledge and claims that an ancestral book passed down through his family, the Xian Mountain Classic, depicts a blue dragon that looks exactly the same. The other ministers quickly join in, declaring that it truly is a blue dragon and that Tu Ye has been blessed. Zhao Zhuo revels in the fact that he is openly defying Tu Ye's rule and usurping imperial authority through such a heinous act of treachery, wondering how Tu Ye feels about it. Tu Ye, on the other hand, is delighted. In his mind, everything is going perfectly, and all of them have done an excellent job. But suddenly, one of the concubines remarks that the creature looks disgusting. Tu Ye immediately wonders who would dare speak for him, only to realize that it is someone from his harem. One of the concubines then questions how such an ugly creature could possibly be an auspicious blue dragon. Tu Ye instantly recognizes that he has miscalculated, though fortunately, there is still a way to fix the situation. He calls Zhao Shu and prompts her to speak. Zhao Shu is confused about what she is supposed to say, but Tu Ye insists that he wants to hear something from her before questioning whether the creature below is really an auspicious blue dragon.